It's been almost a month since the mayoral primary, but New Yorkers are not taking the summer off at all from this busy campaign season. Many residents are still buzzing about the unprecedented race among Eric Adams, Andrew Cuomo, Zoran Mamdani, Curtis Sliwa, and Jim Walden, all now in the general election. So joining me now to talk about how New Yorkers are feeling and how industry leaders are reacting is psychotherapist Dr. Robi Ludwig and CEO and founder of Signal Relief, Mike Hammond. Both of you, thank you so much for coming on the Rush Hour. Let's start with you, Robi. You see patients on a regular basis. There's a lot of buzz about this, but there's a lot of people are feeling really polarized after this primary. What are you hearing and what are you advising people? Because it almost feels like we're back to right before Trump got reelected.
Well, I think what we realize is that politics has become the new religion and people feel very strongly about their choices. And what I have noticed is that the younger generation is very energized around Mamdani. They feel that he's kind of a breath of fresh air, that he is the warrior for people's rights, and really is engaging in what he calls democratic socialism, which is about equalizing the disparity of wealth. So freezing rent and free buses and free subways. And so this is very appealing to a population that's really struggling. Oh, and raising minimum wage. So the struggling population is saying, I like this, I want a heads up, and I'm not able to gain my bearings in life.
And so he's speaking largely to that segment of New Yorkers who's maybe felt disengaged from the political process and not listened to. I'm wondering from a business perspective, Mike, Mamdani has been trying to woo business leaders who were not behind him in the primary necessarily. What is the word on the street now? Are people more open to hearing from him since he is doing so well?
I was just with him last night. I was with a couple guys from New York, actually, talking about the very thing. And there's a little bit of concern. I mean, they're concerned, but you have this great podcast. I just feel like stuff's always, he's having success because he's identifying problems that really exist. And as a community, we have to come together and actually solve those problems and figure that out. And I feel like business in general, to be successful, you have to learn how to pivot and you have to learn how to roll with the times. And there's definitely concern with some of the things he's talking about, but at the same time, there is real problems there and real things that we have to solve. And so
you've launched numerous companies as a serial entrepreneur. When you say there's real problems and real concern, what do you think the overarching concern in the business community is right now? And then you say you're going to have to pivot. What does that look like?
Yeah, it's just, your biggest thing, it's kind of like Trump and the tariffs. Like, how are you going to pay for it, right, is the first thing. How are you going to pay for it? Because businesses aren't as flush with cash as people think. I mean, a 40% tax is 80% of their cash flow. And so when we talk about how do we pay for things, that's a real thing on a business guy's mind, is how are we going to actually make that happen? And I think, and again, I just think we're going to have to figure it out. I taught an entrepreneur class teaching people how to start businesses. And there's this thing in the education world, they're always saying 8 out of 10 businesses fail. And I think it's 8 out of 10 business owners, not businesses. I mean, the guys who are successful learn how to pivot and change and work their way through difficult situations, and they almost succeed in everything they do. And so I think we're going to have to figure that out here and come together as a community.
And it's exactly the perfect segue into your new podcast, Dr. Ludwig. Pivot. Tell us a little bit about it and what you're trying to get at when you're speaking to business and leaders, not necessarily business leaders, but people who are just leaders in their field.
Yeah, so it's The Pivot with Dr. Robi Ludwig, a series on YouTube. And what we've heard from business owners is that they really work with their heart and they have a vision and a creativity and problem-solving abilities. And that's what I've heard from all of the business titans that I have interviewed on my show, a real honesty there of pulling from what matters to them. And I think those are the successful businesses. Of course, you have to keep money in mind, but they do that with a purposeful vision. And we hear very honest reports of how people operate and how they feel about themselves and the issues in their lives.
Super interesting and good lessons for somebody who's starting out with aspirations to be a business leader one day to have sort of that honesty and clarity.
Or to pivot into something else, because there are the surprise pivots. We interviewed people who those decisions were made for them, and they had to say yes to the next step.
Psychotherapist Dr. Robi Ludwig, congratulations
Thank you.
on the pivot.
Thank you.
As well as CEO Mike Hammond, serial entrepreneur, most recently of Signal. Thank you so much to you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.